Okay, so let's start with some loadout stuff. So loadouts, you're gonna be, I've seen some common mistakes in the past where people would delete all of these units and they decide they want to have, say, a British platoon with British weapons. So they would place all of these British units and get weapons with them and stuff. But you never want to do that. You always want to keep the default units because they're set up ready for you to already use. The group marker set up. They're already aligned. They they're all basically vanilla assets, so that this mission actually has near to no dependencies, which is very useful. If we actually remove a mod, we can quite quickly get our mission back up to compatibility because all we want to do is change the loadouts. So keep your default units, but if you double click, for example, the commander and scroll down, you can see the loadout attribute, and a role is essentially just a name. So if you look at the folder for the mission, go into loadouts, blue 4, you can see that role there, co.sqf. So role is just co. And essentially what it's going to do is it's just going to take the code. So if you open it up in Sublime, it's going to take all this code and it's just going to run it whenever that unit spawns. So it's adding a uniform, it's adding items to the uniform, adding a vest, adding weapons and stuff. And it looks quite logical. This refers to the unit that has that role assigned. You got the command and then you got the class name. So it's dead simple. And one of the things that happens internally is before any of this stuff is run, the unit will have everything on them removed. So you don't really have to worry about removing items and stuff. You just worry about adding them. So yeah, you can change this to anything you want. You can call something like SQL, and then have a file in here called SQL.sqf, and then have a whole bunch of stuff in here. So we could just add a uniform. That's it. So that's how you create a new role. It's dead simple. Another thing that you can do is you can specify explicitly the faction. So sometimes you want a blue 4 unit maybe to take on a op4 role, op4 loadout. So essentially what you can do is just say op4 and then colon co. And what that's doing is just telling it to use the op4 folder and use the co loadout from that folder. But it doesn't have to just be op4. You can create your own loadouts entirely. So you could have a new folder called, I don't know, police. And then maybe you have c.sqf for like cop or something. So then you can just do police and then c, like that. So police colon c. And it's just going to tell it to go to the police folder and open up the C script file and just run everything inside that. And obviously the case that you use, whether you're capitals, lowercase, title case, whatever, it doesn't matter. So we're going to basically put it back to CO, and that without that colon, it's just going to default to the faction of the unit. So this is a West unit, Blue 4 unit, and that's it. So it's going to open up the CO folder here, or file, and do everything in here. So right here is adding a M9 pistol. So if we actually remove that, then we can also remove the magazines. Then we'll see that this CO unit no longer has any pistol. See, there we go, no pistol, and that's all it is. It's dead simple. And every one of these units has a loadout that they're rocking. So most of the time you won't be using every single loadout given to you by the framework. So if you look at this folder, we're only using the blue 4 side in this mission. So we don't need to have in4 and op4. If you look at the size of that, that's 50 kilobytes. That's quite a lot of space to, or at least a lot of files to download when you're loading into the mission. So we can delete those folders entirely. We're not using MAT, MMG, or Mortar, so we can delete those. Not using Vehicle Crew. We're not actually using Copilot either, so we can delete that. So you can break this down and just have exactly what you need. And so now the loadouts altogether is 10 kilobytes. That's brilliant. That's nothing. So make sure you are deleting the stuff that you don't need and keeping the stuff that you do. Now, the way you actually make loadouts is dead simple. So close the editor, go to tutorials, virtual arsenal. Okay, so once you're in the arsenal, you're basically given a little guy, and you can customize whatever you want. So I recommend making an empty loadout save, and that's basically just going to remove everything. But on the left, you've got all these different categories, and I'm sure everyone here already knows about Arsenal. Everyone seems to love the Arsenal and sandbox. So yeah, you just pick what you want. Some things to keep in mind is if you're doing a PvP, or actually if you're doing any kind of mission, if you're given the players RHS gear, which is this icon, this icon, this icon, if you're giving them RHS gear, then make sure they're going up against RHS gear. So it happens in co-ops and PvPs. More so it's important in PvPs because RHS are stupid and they have their own damage values and damage models. So an RHS versus RHS fight is pretty even, but RHS versus vanilla or RHS versus really anything else is going to be RHS sided. It's going to be very, like, they have so much more damage than any other weapon, and more armor than any other armor. So make sure you're putting RHS with RHS, vanilla with vanilla, and really vanilla with BAF, vanilla with NI arms and stuff. That's totally fine. So I'm gonna give this guy maybe a syndicate uniform from Tanara Asset. Give him a vest. Doesn't really matter what. Well, give him that. Why not? Give him a helmet. You get the idea. You just basically build up your unit, make him look pretty decent. I've seen it quite a few times where you'd have. Well, let's just make it because it's just sickening to see this. But we have a UCP uniform, and we have a UCP vest, right? And then once we had this crazy idea. Where is it? We actually had a desert helmet like that. Okay, this is how not to make a loadout, because this is retarded. And if you don't know why this is retarded, then you really shouldn't be making missions. But make your loadouts look good. Make them fairly interesting. If you always use the same thing every week, then it would be boring. So yeah, make it pretty interesting. And essentially what you want to do for medical is just for standard riflemen, you want to give them 3 bandages. That's bandage basic. Give them a morphine and a tourniquet, and that's essentially all they need. And you can give them anything else after that. But generally riflemen are only supposed to have 3 bandages, 1 morphine and 1 tourniquet, and then medics have all the other medical stuff. So medics actually have a job to do. So then yeah, give them a weapon, M16. You can put a sight on it. Also no magnified optics. Actually, what was that? Oh, look at pistol sight. Yeah, do whatever you want. Give them some magazines. I usually do about 8 or between 8 and 10, depending on the mission. You want to remove the magazine from the uniform that it usually gives you, and then just give them some frags. So a couple of smokes, a couple of frags. I like the RHS frags, they look nice. They got a map. Don't want to give rifleman GPS. Don't really want to give them binoculars. Should give them a helmet, that looks good. Sure, why not? That looks okay. And yeah, once you have your loadout and you're happy with it, make sure you try it. And you actually, are happy that everything's there where you want it. then just click export, and then tab back into the file. Let's open up the Rifleman, and then just paste it all in there. So the comments don't really do anything. You can remove them if you want, or just keep them, doesn't really matter. Remove all these things, yeah, doesn't really matter, you can keep them or remove them. This is already happening internally anyway, but if you can't be bothered to remove them, it's fine. And then you essentially want to go down each line and make sure you got nothing related to Acre. Like this here, item radio Acre flagged. Just delete anything to do with Acre. And delete all the face and speaker stuff because it's pointless. Because the reason why we don't want anything to do with Acre is because Acre is applied after the loadout is set. And if there's stuff in the loadout that tells Acre that it's already been handled, then it's gonna be pretty problematic. And it's pretty bad if you're gonna share this loadout with other people. They might not want to have particular radios on this loadout. So always remove anything to do with Acre in this file. And then yeah, just save it and you're done. So that's the loadout. So it's dead simple. Copy and paste.